Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for joining us today to talk about boosting prospect research efficiency with the Microsoft Power Platform. My name is Leah Bisk, and I am a customer success manager here at Blackbaud. I'm really excited for our session today. I mean, who doesn't love efficiency? Before I introduce our incredible speaker, who is king of maximizing efficiency with technology, we'll quickly cover a few housekeeping tips. Give me one moment, please. For starters, if you're having any audio issues, refresh your browser for audio or technical issues. Recordings are available afterwards, and you can download the slides on the Docs tab on the right side of your screen. Please use the Q&A to submit questions. You can chat for any group conversations, and messages can be used, of course, to DM participants. And with that, I'm excited and delighted to introduce you to our speaker today. I'm sorry, I'm having a technical issue myself and moving along the slide deck. There we go. To introduce you to our incredible speaker, Alex Kempamanis. He's the Executive Director of Advancement Services at the University of Manitoba. He has extensive experience in driving cultural transformation and implementing data-driven solutions. Alex has been so instrumental in leading the university's efforts to automate prospect research, and his expertise spans across various domains, including data warehousing, process optimization, and change management. Please join me in welcoming Alex. Alex, the stage is yours.
Hi, everybody. I hope you get a lot out of this presentation. This is one of many projects my team has been working on in hoping to streamline processes and have a positive impact on many other processes within the university. So just to cover the agenda, we'll look at number one, a need for automation. So when is there not a need for automation? The problem that we set out to solve, the solutions, outcomes, and then future iterations. Next slide. So why is change needed? These are some of the current pain points that we were suffering with respect to this process. First and foremost, manual data export. So multiple queries had to be executed in database view to export data. It would either go to CSV or to an Access database, and then significant cleanup had to be done on the data. Next, manual document creation. The data then had to be put into a Word document, and it had to be supplemented with additional information. And then finally, email that I call now snail mail. And the reason why I do that is because it really gets in the way of everything. So when you think about philosophically how much we use email and how it's so integrated into what we do, even sending an email and receiving an email, it comes with the overhead of writing the email. It comes with the overhead of reading the email. It comes with the overhead of saving the email until you actually can get to it. And then generally, then there's a response that you have to write to another person, and then the same process all over again. And so when you think about that, whether, let's just say that entire process from end to end, one person sends an email, another person reads it, and then replies to it. Let's just say that takes 5 to 10 minutes. Let's ignore the management of the emails that you have, mixed in within thousands of emails, and then you've got to look for it when you can get to it. But now multiply that, times hundreds of times a day or dozens of times a day or whatever it is. Like that is really shaving off efficiency off of processes you lose accuracy of information, you lose accuracy of the message or interpretation. And so that is one of the biggest things that we're always trying to remove from processes is there a need for email in this, or can we circumvent email completely? And can we automate or semi-automate some of that, such as a request, a transfer of information that is within the request, and then somehow an automated reply with more information. Next slide. So these are the technologies that were leveraged within this solution. So we have the Blackbaud Sky API, which these are calls that are done multiple times. So several APIs are called within this process. We use Power Automate for invoking the entire or triggering the entire process, and then for doing steps along the way, and then managing the workflow from what person to what process to what person, and then Microsoft Word, which we used. We used a Microsoft Word mail merge templates to then take the data and then merge it within Microsoft Word. Next slide. All right, so here's the actual problem. We're dealing with research request profiles from fundraisers to RPM, Research Prospect Management Department. So the existing process or the old process functioned like this. And I'm gonna explain the process, and then I'm gonna show you a nice little chart that shows the process visually. So the very first thing is a fundraiser is generally in most cases is in Raiser's Edge, and they create an action, which is a scheduled call with a prospect. And subsequent to that, they go into their email and they type up an email and they send it to RPM. This is called a call announcement email. And basically that says, I need this person's constituent profile for my call coming up. So the research officer, next thing they do, they receive the email. They look up the constituent in Raiser's Edge. They review all required information. They make sure it's up to date. And if it's not up to date, they go and they do some research, which is actually one of the only parts of the job that shouldn't be automated. And then they update all of the key exportable data that would be then exported into the CSV file that would be used in the Word doc creation. Now, one of the things I'm going to point out an issue that happened within this process. One of the things that they would do is they would really only update the data on the constituent that they knew was going to get exported. And then the rest of the data that they couldn't export, they would, in most part, they have this bad habit of just changing it in the Word document prior to sending the Word document. And so that was one of the issues. So they focused on contact info, relationships, linkage, interest, and ability ratings. Next slide. Okay, so continuing now this process, the data is extracted from Raiser's Edge database view into CSV. And like I said, missing key data such as student and experience and volunteerism, this data could not be exported out of Raiser's Edge. There was a lot of manual cleanup of the data, and it was prone to errors. And then finally, it was mail merged into a Word document only on the exported data. And then the rest of the data was copy and pasted either from Razor's Edge into the Word document or from whatever research notes they had on the side, and then into the email or into the Word document. Then they would create a new email, and then they would send the email off to the fundraiser. So this took about 1 to 2 hours of non-research work. Next slide. All right. So some of the inefficiencies and risks, missed data and inaccuracies, of course. Word document was updated, but the data was not captured within Razor's Edge. The other thing is that many times full profiles were created when only partial info was needed. So there was a lot of effort. There's a 1 to 2 hour effort that was done sometimes only when this fundraiser only needed maybe an ability rating or an interest rating or a linkage rating. And so it created a lot of overhead for very little, very small requirements. We also had version control issues. The fundraisers were aware that this was a heavy load on RPM in terms of every time they created a profile. And so many times they would just save these profiles and store them away, and then they would just be reused in the future, whether they were updated or not. And then you would have multiple versions of them. And so it became a management and a version control issue. So in terms of return on investment, we felt that we could, we would have approximately 100 briefing notes per year. It was about 200 hours of admin work, and then it would reduce emails, another 200 emails, which, multiply times the number of minutes, that's more hours of save time. Next slide. Okay. So here's the process that I've just described. I'm just going to quickly reiterate it. We've got your fundraisers. Oh, everything that is in orange is unnecessary work. So you've got your fundraisers, then they're typing up an email, and then they're sending the email, and the email is going into the email vortex of time, which is time consuming. That's basically email management, right? It sits in somebody's email box until they get to it. And then it finally goes to RPM when they get a chance to read it. And so now they look in Blackbaud to see if the data is up to date. If it's not, they do some research on it, and they update the data in Razor's Edge. And then subsequent to that, they export and create the profiles. So that entire process where they export the data, and then they copy and paste the additional data into the Word document. There's more unnecessary work, the yellow people or orange people. And then finally, they create the email, which is more unnecessary work. They attach the attachment, and then they send it back into the email vortex, and then it goes back to the fundraiser. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the solution and how we actually built and engineered the solution. This is just a simple technical swim lane diagram. And then it's just meant here to illustrate how the initial minimum viable product of the solution was engineered. So the fundraiser will now request for the constituent profile from within Razor's Edge. So no email, just I'm on the constituent right now. I want to see their profile. How do I request this from RPM? Next step is the flow that actually takes all of the data required and creates the profile from top to bottom, exactly as if it would go back to the fundraiser. Next step is the profile goes to RPM for review. So instead of RPM having to go into Razor's Edge to verify the data, which means you go into Razor's Edge and then you look at the constituent address, and then you go into the constituent, education, and then you have to drill in to the relationships, and then you might have to actually click on one of the related records and then drill into their education. It would actually create the exact profile, all the condensed, summarized information on one sheet, with a date on which the data was last updated. And so not only does it make it much more efficient for RPM to determine whether the data needs to be updated, it prepares a document as if the fundraiser would receive it. At this point, RPM makes a decision on whether to allow the document to go through to fundraising or whether they need to stop it from going through and update the data. Now, this is the part that we haven't built yet and which we will build in the future. At this point, if the document goes through, then everything's fine. If the document needs to be updated, then RPM will update Razor's Edge, and then they will manually regenerate the Word document. What I mean by manual is still use our new process, but they export the document to Excel, and then they have to create the email and send it. Next slide. So now I'm going to go over each one of those steps and how we've built them. So the first step was the request from within Razor's Edge. So this is what it looks. This is a little snapshot of the area. So when you're in Razor's Edge and when you're within the constituent, you just click on add-ins and you go to a constituent profile. You get this pop-up window that says that your request has been sent off, and off to the races, you're done. Now, one of the things we're going to do in the future. So we've built this application with the ability in the future to scale it up. So there will probably be additional types of profiles. So different word template. One right off the bat that we're working on is organization. So our organization profile is different from an individual profile. And so you'll have the ability to pick either constituent profile or organization profile. And then another version that we have is called a briefing note. A briefing note will actually generate the identical Word document in terms of the data, but will also add additional places within the Word document that the fundraiser can use as a working document as they're actually on the call with the potential donor. And so it becomes, so the first one is more of a static profile, and then the second one is more as a Word document that allows the fundraiser to work with the static information and add additional comments to it, which could then potentially be re-entered into Razor's Edge. Next slide. Okay, so this is this is flow one. So flow one is the Power Automate flow that gets triggered when you select a constituent profile. And so what it does is that it calls flow two, and then it if there's an error, then it sends an email to RPM. Otherwise, that's really all it does, calls flow two. Okay, so flow two, this is where, sorry, I'm juggling between my notes here on one side and the slides. Okay, so this is where this is where most of the work happens. So in flow two, the fundraiser is sent an email of the request being reviewed by RPM. So along with the pop-up that says it's being reviewed, they're going to get an email saying that the request is being reviewed. This is also, like I talked about before, this is where the profile gets created by the data being retrieved from Razor's Edge. And then the mail merge also occurs here. And then it's sent to RPM with a warning if the data is old. So Let's look at the graphic here. Hang on, I'm going to try and make this. Leia, do you know if the audience can actually see the graphic? And like, oh yeah, I put it in full screen. Yeah, it's much better now. Okay, so there you've got the confirmation to the user is the email to the fundraiser, populate Microsoft Word template. So that's really all of the work happens within that one item in the flow, and we're going to drill into that next. And then the next one is the email gets sent to RPM with or without the condition of the old data or not. And then finally, the check for the approval to send the document to the fundraiser. Okay, next slide. Okay. Okay, so this is all of the data that's pulled for the note. And so if you take a look here, we've grouped them. We've grouped, in some cases, we've grouped them into the different areas. So these are the actual API calls. Now, some of them are API calls with endpoints, and some of them are actual the SQL API where we pass in the SQL, and then it runs a query on Razor's Edge, and then it returns the results in a JSON file. And then one call is actually a SQL stored procedure that goes against our data warehouse, because we don't have the ability to pull the volunteer information through the API call, but it's stored in our data warehouse. So we do the get constituent API, and then under constituent education, we make two API calls. One is to list the constituent education, and then the other one is to do the student engagement information. Then we do constituent relationships. And then within the constituent relationships, we recall the API to list out the education for every single one of those constituents. How are we doing for time? Good. We've got then constituent notes, addresses, constituent last action notes and fundraiser, opportunities, ratings, number of events attended, fund contacts, fundraiser information. So the fundraiser that is assigned to that constituent, gift information. We have 4 API calls, and then the data warehouse one, which is the volunteer info. So what we've done is we've grouped all of those areas into scopes. So all of the education APIs get called together, and all of the relationship APIs get called together. And so you've got scopes, and then above you've got variables. So I was only able to get a partial snapshot, but there are a long list of variables before these first 3 variables. See how it says last gift amount, last gift date, and event count? Those are all variables that are being declared ahead of time before the scopes assign values to those variables as the queries are being executed. So yeah, let's go to the next slide. Okay, ratings and student engagement. All right, so sorry, if you go back to the first slide. If you look here, you will have a scope for ratings, and then you will have a scope for student engagement. So this is kind of what we're drilling into on that subsequent slide. Let's go back into that slide. All right, so for the ratings, we pull the standard API that has endpoints in it. And so the first thing that's done is call the API with the constituent ID for the ratings. And then the next one, filter the ability ratings array. So filtering the ability ratings array, what happens is it goes into a condition and it checks for a true or for a false. Because what happens is in Razor's Edge, you can have multiple ratings. And the API call that calls for the ratings will bring in all the ratings. It will bring a linkage rating. In our case, it will bring up a linkage rating, an ability rating, a capacity rating, and an interest rating. And we only want to see the ability rating. And so we check for that in that condition below. See how it says set ability rating, right? And so it goes and it fetches the correct rating, and then it assigns the rating to the rating variable that we want to use later on in the mail merge document. So in terms of student engagement, for student engagement, it runs another API query, which is an HTTP request for student engagement. And this one will actually go through multiple engagements, and it will store it in an array variable instead of an ordinary variable. Next slide. All right, this next slide, relationships, is what I was talking about before, and it's called a nested scope or nested API calls. So the very first API call is give me a list of all of the constituent relationships that you have. So it's going to go through the relationships that I have. So in Razor's Edge, if I have a brother and a mother and a cousin, it's going to go through and find those three in the initial relationship section, or the initial relationship call. And then it's going to store those relationships in a variable, in an array variable. And then the next step is to go through each of those relationships in the array array variable for my mother, my brother, and my cousin, and then go and make an API call for their education. And so then it'll go through for each one and pick all of their education. And the education is also an array variable, because you could have multiple education. So, okay, yeah, that's it. Okay, so this is where the profile gets actually created in the Word document template. So this is how we set up the Word document template. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Word mail merge functionality, Word mail merge is a Word document template that you create, and it's a combination of dynamic text and static text. The static text will always remain the same, and then the dynamic text are all placeholders that have a title and a tag, and then later on you have the ability to assign each of those tags or those title set placeholders a variable where you've stored actual data. So in this one case, this one template would have many use cases. So not many, but several use cases. So we would use the same document, but a different delivery of multiple documents. Like I said, for the organization, we need to create a new template for the profile. For the briefing note, which is the working document, we also need to create a different template. But now let's say that I wanted to create a list of people. I wanted to create a profile list of people that are attending an event. Well, then we would reuse this template for each one of those people. So that's a different business case, same template. Or just using this template for many different constituents one at a time. Those are all different. All right. Next document. Next, yeah. Okay, so this is how we now take the Word template, and then we load the data. We merge the data with the static document. So this is like a Word template object within Power Automate. So you have the ability now to take an object and load in the Word template. And as soon as you do that, where it says advanced parameters showing 27 of 27, Power Automate will take the document and it will look within the document to see how many placeholders are there. And then underneath are all of the placeholders. So email ID is a placeholder, largest gift is a placeholder, next planned ask is a placeholder. And so if there were only like 5 placeholders, then it would showing 5 of 5, and then you would only have 5 placeholders underneath. So as the developer goes through every single one of those placeholders, those are actual little boxes that they can change. And as they're filling in values within those boxes, the developer can actually see the variables that are available where we assigned the data that was being pulled from the API calls into the variables. So one by one, they map the variable to the placeholder in the Word document. Next slide. Okay, so this is a sample of the Word document after it's been populated. So as you can see, I'm an award winner for needle pointing. But so the first part is almost fully dynamic. You have my name, you have my title, my address, and then underneath that there was a section for the fundraisers that are assigned to me. So this is really just the final document prior to it going out. So this is the document that's sent to RPM for review. And then if the data has been updated, I can't remember what the time span is. If it's greater than 6 months or greater than a year, there will be a red alert in the accompanying email saying that this data is old. Next slide. Notification. So this is the request going to RPM. So this is actually when RPM gets the profile, and then whether they're going to make the decision to approve or reject it. So once RPM gets the email, it's an email with this little pop-up in it with the document attached, and then there's the warning. Ability rating is older than 2 years. Oh, I guess it's 2 years. Select one, approve or reject. So this is where the current process is not end-to-end fully automated, but it will be. And so they approve it, or like I said, if they reject it, they go and they research, they update the data, they create the profile out of Razor's Edge again, and then they forward the email to the fundraiser. So it's still a little bit more streamlined, but it's still not fully automated. Final delivery. Next slide. This is the email that the fundraiser receives once the entire flow is completed, and the email with the profile gets sent to the fundraiser. Next slide. So this is, all right, my visuals again. This is the future state. So this is the state where we don't have the manual process. So here you've got, instead of people writing an email, or fundraisers writing an email, you've got fundraisers that are in the center of the universe, Blackbaud, Razor's Edge, NXT, and they click on the button to create the profile, and then you have your little icon there for Power Automate, which calls all of those APIs from Blackbaud, and it generates those emails there, those emails attached to those Word documents, which kind of, the green arrow is basically showing that those emails are being generated, but then they continue on from the bottom workflow to the fundraiser, or sorry, not the fundraiser, to the green guys there, RPM. And then there's the little Teams check mark, which is the approval, right? And so then that's where they actually do the approval, but then they can wait on the approval, because what's going to happen is, instead of clicking reject when the data is not updated, they're just going to sit on approving it, and then they're going to update Blackbaud Razor's Edge with any type of a research info, and then they're going to approve it, which is the green check mark up underneath. And then the flow will now regenerate the profile with the updated data, and then it will go back to the fundraiser. So we've got all of the components built. It's just about adding those additional workflows that will, what's going to happen is we're going to get the workflow to recall the original workflow that generates the email with the attachment, but this time it's going to be refreshed with new data, and then it will pass it on straight to the fundraiser. Next slide. All right, so future state, like I said, along with a change in the workflow, we will have future enhancements or future use cases that we will be able to address. One of them is the version that we're currently working on for an organization profile. The other one is the briefing notes, which turns a static document into a working document for the end user. New assignment summary. So new assignment summary is going to be a different case, same template. So basically what's going to happen is if a fundraiser gets assigned a new prospect in their portfolio, we will automatically call the process that we've created. So this will not be user invoked. So it will not be a user being within Razor's Edge and clicking constituent profile. It will be automatically triggered when RPM assigns a new constituent to a fundraiser's portfolio, and then they will get the chance to review the summary and then approve it, and then it will automatically go to the fundraiser. Event LIA, we will create an event linkage, interest, and ability rating list for events. So that's a completely different business case where within events, you're going to have a list of people and you're going to have the ability to click on a button and it will create a list of people grouped by table with all of the information that a fundraiser needs in order to go to that table and start talking to each of the potential prospects. We will then create more templates specific to business area. So for the leadership team or for planned giving, and then we may also create prospect summaries. So a prospect summary would be for just any constituent. What is the summarized information for that constituent that you can see all in one place instead of having to go all over the place, you know, to kind of to look for a clean summary for for constituents. We may also embed all of that information into a tile within Razor's Edge. So it wouldn't be an email delivery. It would be just a tile in Razor's Edge that has all of the summarized information that an organization needs that doesn't fully align with the way that Razor's Edge has all of the data aligned within a tab, within one of the constituent tabs. Okay, so that's it for the presentation. We've got, I think I went through it a little bit fast, but that's okay. We've got 20 minutes for questions. Are there any questions?
Alex, firstly, thank you so much for walking us through this use case. It's one of the many examples of processes that were cumbersome, and you found ways to optimize and minimize input to maximize output. We have lots of questions in the chat, including some wonderful feedback, so thank you. We'll start with Tanya. Tanya's asking, where do you save the temporary profile files that are being created in Word?
Oh, they don't get saved anywhere. They actually just get, an email gets generated with the attachment. So it's always fully dynamic and it's always fresh. And that was one of the problems that we were dealing with, was that when we actually created the manual profiles, there was so much work involved that the profile, think about it, when you put that much work in something, you're going to put more value into saving it somewhere. And then saving it somewhere creates the issue of version control. And so then we completely eliminated that, right? We're now sending the attachment in an email. It's like a disposable profile, because tomorrow it could be refreshed. And if you want to regenerate it, there's no effort in regenerating it. And so we're trying to keep the data as disposable as possible, or the document as disposable as possible, but so easy to fetch that it kind of changes the mindset on the way that you manage documents.
Thank you for that, Alex. And before I read the next question, there is so much fantastic feedback coming through in the chat, so thank you all. I will just read one comment from Jessica White. Jessica writes, "This has been the most insightful presentation I've attended this BB Dev Days, and something I'm going to try and implement ASAP." So thank you, Alex, and thank you, Jessica, for that comment. Back to questions. We have a question from Lindsay. Is there any way to include the constituent's photo from NXT in the profile? We haven't figured out an easy way to extract this, but the photo is super helpful for our fundraisers.
We don't have photos in Razor's Edge, but believe me, if we did, we would find a way to get that photo on. I'm always a big fan of photos. One of the first contract that I ever worked for, or my first job, was with Pan American Games, and it was the accreditation system. And this was in 1999. And that's one of the first things that we did, is we built reports with photos. So I really appreciate your question in that sense. And if we ever get photos, we will find a way to do it. I'm sure there's a way. Yeah, whether there's a link, my developers would know. A little thing about me too, I'm not really a developer. I used to be. And so this solution, like my team put a lot of work in this. I conceptualized it. And then I thought this would be something, like this is the way we want to engineer things. I provide them feedback, and I provide them, the core principles that we want to try and solve with all of these solutions, which is, minimizing email automation or semi-automation. But when they built it, and I actually had to walk through, like I was really surprised at the complexity, how many times they called all the different scopes and the nested scopes, and how so I'd have to go back to my developers and find out. They're gonna probably give me a quick answer on whether it's doable or not to pull a photo out. So yeah, I'll try and provide that in the next few days.
Thanks, Alex. We have a question from Joseph, which was answered by Carol, and I'll read the question and both the answer from Carol Grant, and then we can see if you have another perspective as well. Joseph asks, what if there are multiple ratings with the same source, same category, and different date? And Carol's suggestion was you can filter the array by the rating and then get the dates and find the max rating date, then match them up and list only the latest.
I believe that that's actually being handled, and I didn't talk about that. So when I spoke about going through the ratings and then going through the rating and picking the rating type because we only wanted the ability rating, I believe that I know that we store ratings, like we don't overwrite the person's rating. We store the ratings with a date. So I'm assuming that my team did the same thing. They not only checked for the rating type, but they probably looked at the maximum rating date on the type to pull it out and store that in the variable so that it would percolate up into the template. But I'll confirm that as well.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you again, Carol. I love how collaborative the community is. Moving on to a question from Aaron. Where does the background section come from? Is it a note?
The background. Let me see here. Can you go through the deck, Leah? Sure. Go into the Word template sample. Maybe I have it in here. Maybe something will jog my memory as I was going through this. Where is that here? Sorry, what was that one? What was the field?
So the background field, Alex is currently working at the U of M. So where is this pulling from? Is it from a note?
Oh, okay.
And Alex, we can come back to this one. We've got a couple more questions here.
I believe it's in constituent notes. It's probably a constituent note. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. And then the next question is, how long does the flow take to run?
I could not tell you. But I will say, okay, I will say something. I've worked with software for a very long time, almost 25 years. It's surprising to me. Power Automate flows are kind of slow. Like sometimes they take like a few seconds, and sometimes they'll take like closer to a minute. And so I don't believe and those are for some simple ones. I've never really asked my team how long this takes to run. But this is more complex than some of the ones I've seen. So I wouldn't be surprised. For me, like when you run something like this, it should be almost instantaneous, like an operational platform, an operational data application where you enter something or you click on a button and you see something else. So it's definitely never going to perform the way the way that a single page web app performs, right? These flows, they're like server side based, and they're sometimes limited by server traffic.
Alex, not only are you amazing, but your team is amazing. We have Lisa here from your team, and she has confirmed that it's about 3 minutes and has also confirmed that, yes, it's a notepad. So thank you for that, Lisa.
Oh, good. Good, I'm glad.
And sorry, I missed that earlier. I've got the Q&A and the chat on two separate, I've got to flip between them. I think we've gone through everything in the Q&A. Let me just do one quick check here. And folks, if you have any other questions, please drop it in the Q&A and I'll go through the chat as well.
Oh, Lisa, is there anything that I missed? So Lisa is the lead on the RPM team, and she was the one that was doing a lot of this work manually. and she provided the business cases and did all of the Q&A as the developers were building this. Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. I think we've got, oh, Jessica has a question. Have you shared your Power Automate template for this in the community? If not, your screenshots are very helpful to get started, but if so, would love to download your template.
Yeah, I think we could share the template. There's no, we'll change things that we don't want, to have in public, but I doubt it, right? I think a lot of the language is pretty well standard, and then it's not going to come with any data. So, and then you would have all of the placeholders that you could test, and then you could swap out with your own placeholders. So yeah, we can do that. Another thing that I'd like to say is we're in the process of building these solutions and making them more robust and potentially commercializing them for future, for other universities to be able to use. And so look for that. We'll probably publish some of these in the marketplace. We'll obviously have like free versions, and then we would have more comprehensive, potentially with more different workflows or additional features for paid versions.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Alex. And thank you. Sorry, we got another question. Sorry. The whole process is beautiful from a technical viewpoint. Agree, Joseph. But I feel like I completely missed something. If the fundraisers are an RE on a specific constituent, why do they need to ask someone for information about that specific constituent they are navigating right now? Why don't they just look at the data?
Because the data is everywhere. So I'm going to give you an example of just being in a constituent and then having to look for or to look through all of the relationships, right? So let's say that let's zoom in on. Can you show the word sample?
I believe it's up. The sample constituent profile?
Yeah. Oh, that was up already? It's so small. Hang on, I'm going to open up the bigger version so I can see it. Let's see here. So when you look at this, so first of all, you can't see everything in one screen. You're going to have to for sure scroll up and down within your browser, within Razor's Edge to see all of this. And that's just for the data that's right on the surface. But then when you actually go and you want to see, your family links, right, or your relationships, and then you want to go take a look at their educations, you might have to actually click on the person, and then you might have to go look at that person's education. Or when you actually look in ratings, there could be dozens of ratings. And some of them you're going to have to actually go into the ratings and then scroll down through all of the ratings. So this is really just a way of consolidating everything that they want to see, like right all together, instead of having to go from, within Razor's Edge in different areas or drilling into another constituent.
Thank you for that, Alex. And thank you to our audience. I think that's all for questions. Thank you all for the fantastic feedback. Scrolling through the chat, I see Alex Wong, you shared some awesome information as well. So thanks to you. Thanks to Lisa and your team, Alex, that also helped out. And I hope all of you have a wonderful day. And I will pull up the last slide with Alex's email if you'd like to reach out and connect. And whoops, let's go back there. You've got his email there.
Yeah, this deck will be available also. And then there's a barcode to my LinkedIn on the first slide. Maybe I should have put it on this one too, but that's okay.
We can flip to it. I'll have it up as folks exit. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of the BBDev Days conference. There we go.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Jessica, I'm pulling up the survey in just one quick moment. Thank you for the reminder.
So should we leave the stage?